It's always a bit of an anticlimax when you build them up to Sophia Loren.
Well, I don't think my hair's quite right, actually, no.
To Terry Jones. It's, if I may say, it's a while since we've heard of Monty Python. You must be fed up talking about Monty Python because you're obviously an individual in your own right. But has it all finished, or are you ever going to get together again?
Well, I don't know, really. I mean, we're all still alive, just about, as far as I heard. You know, I've just been playing a game of squash with Mike Palin, actually. And we're all there, and we might do something, I don't know. It's bubbling away.
But of course, it's never been easy, has it? 6 comic actors, or 6 actors with huge egos.
Yeah, that's right, absolutely. Some bigger than others. I mean, the egos.
Do you mean taller or bigger egos?
Well, taller egos.
Yeah.
No, I think it's difficult getting 6 people to agree at any one time that yes, that's what we're going to do. I mean, that's the trouble we had with the last film, Meaning of Life. It was just so difficult to get everyone to say, yeah, that's the subject, let's go on there.
You used to direct the movies, didn't you?
Yes, I did. In the old days, I used to direct the movies, yes.
But not anymore, Terry, no. All fit. You'd hope to go on and get together and do another one, though, wouldn't you? It's not all going to finish.
Seems a bit of a waste, doesn't it? Yes.
There's been a kind of recurring theme in the Python films that's medieval, I suppose, knights in armour and damsels in distress. Is that, I know you have an interest in the medievals. That got anything to do with you?
Well, I suppose so. I mean, with the Monty Python, the Holy Grail, which was the first one we actually directed ourselves, originally, half the film was modern and half the film was medieval, in fact. And the Knights of the Round Table eventually found the Holy Grail in Harrods in the original script. Because, you know, basically you can get anything from Harrods. But then we sort of, I don't know, I kind of thought, oh, it'd be so nice to go into the medieval world and just create a world. And so in the end, we did sort of do it just in the Middle Ages.
Yeah. You didn't stay true to what you knew to be true about the Middle Ages, did you? I mean,
well,
factually correct, was it?
Factually correct. Well, we kind of want, I think with the comedy in Python, it's very important to sort of have a real feel to it. And we tried to make the medieval world look convincing and look real. And so all the reviewers were saying, gosh, you know, it's so real. It's mud on the floor. You know, people have got sort of ulcers and sore limbs and things.
Bad teeth.
Bad teeth, you see. And we painted everybody's teeth. Everybody, single extra, had to put yellow on their teeth and black them out. And all the actors, all of us had to do this. And it's horrible when you put this stuff on because it's a bit like wearing socks on your teeth. You know, you have your ham roll in the morning and you're biting through this fuzz. It's horrible. But at the same time, I don't necessarily think that is a true reflection of what the Middle Ages was like. Because, for example, when they dug up the Mary Rose, you know, the ship, the Tudor ship, they were very surprised. They found these skeletons which were actually larger than they thought they were going to be. And the other thing was that they had perfect dentition. And, of course, the point is...
There weren't secret dentists that we don't know about.
Well, they did have dentists, yeah, in a way they did. But the main thing was, you see, they didn't have sugar. They hadn't opened up the West Indies then. And so people weren't eating sweets and sugar all the time, so their teeth didn't go bad, so they didn't need the dentistry.
Are you saying that you'd quite like to have been around then?
Well, you know, you look at the 14th century and you think, my goodness me, you know, Black Death, you had these terrible wars going through everywhere. It'd been a terrible time to live. But, you know, if you were living in the 14th century and you looked at, and somebody said, would you like to come and live in modern London? And you said the only snag is that the entire population of medieval London is going to be killed or injured on the roads every year. That's the only trouble. You know, there's going to be 30,000 or 40,000 people. You'd think twice about living in this day and age.
Well, that's true. That is true. But I mean, the sanitation and all, you've grown used to loos and cleanliness. And I mean, you have all your own teeth, I can see. But I mean, it was a bit...
Except for this one, that's somebody else on there, yeah.
You're bringing it in for somebody else. Yeah. It was a bit squalid, though, wasn't it?
Well, I think it was probably less squalid than we imagine. I mean, obviously, it's not going to be all shiny plastic surfaces and things like that. But I think that people had to live. And they did have concepts of health. I think we have a very kind of... I think we were brought up to believe in progress and this idea that we're living on this increasing line where everything's getting better and better all the time. And I don't think things are, really. I mean, you just take something like medicine.
You're a reactionary, aren't you, really?
I am, yes, you're right, Harry, I am.
Marching backwards, that's the way you want to go.
Well, no, I think things sort of move around. I think what is important to find out what was good about the Middle Ages and about the past, and to learn from the past, and not to have not to live in this kind of cloud cuckoo land where we think everything is improving.
Well, you're not all that keen on progress, are you?
Well, I don't believe it's happening. That's the thing. You know, I think we're kidding ourselves a lot of the time, and I think it's something like Monty Python and the Holy Grail. In a way, it looked convincing to us because it made the Middle Ages look so dirty, because it was kind of pandering to our kind of inflated view of how we're living now.
It was very, very violent, of course, in medieval times, wasn't it? There was a lot of mugging went along.
Well, I suppose it was violent. I mean, there's a lot of mugging goes on now. In fact, I've been mugged twice, I have to tell you, Terry. Once in London and once in New York. I was in London. These were the most shameful events in my life, I think, these muggings, because it was...
Well, you didn't stand up for yourself.
I didn't, no. And the thing was, I was mugged in London by a very elderly man. And he asked me the way to Charing Cross, and I said, it's down there. And he said, you bloody liar, and hit me with his umbrella, and sent me really across the road, and I landed up in the roadway. And I sort of picked myself up, and I looked around, and there was the old man already on the floor, and this man in a donkey jacket had leapt on him, was hitting his head on the floor and saying, you stupid old so-and-so. And a police car screeched up, and two policemen came out and said, are you right, sir, are you right? And I said, yes, yeah. He said, don't worry, we'll get him down to the next, sir. He's been doing it all the way down the road. He said, you're about the third one. Just waiting for him to do one more.
And what about New York?
In New York, I was mugged by a horse. I was walking across Central Park, and this horse suddenly came up to me. I was wearing this furry coat, and it came up to me, and it went, pulled my sleeve off my coat. I felt, you felt, what do you do? You can't hit it.
You were very lucky. Why did the horse mug you? Was there a reason for it?
Well, I don't know. I think we've been having...
Failed to give it a lump of sugar.
I think it was something like that. We've been having our photos taken, and they have these guys that drive these carriages around. And I think we hadn't tipped the guy enough or something.
And the horse took umbrage.
Yes, I think so, yes. It's awful, isn't it? In New York, even the horses are violent. I was so surprised.
Do you think you're ever going to grow up?
I hope not, Terry, actually, yes. That's what my children say to me,
Yeah.
They're 10, 8 and 10 now. They say, Daddy, why don't you grow up sometime, But, I don't know.
You wouldn't like to lose that sense of the ridiculous.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think you know how you always think you're younger than you are?
Yeah, of course. There's a 25-year-old man in there.
That's right. Well, I've been thinking I was 15 for a long time. So, you see other people about 20, you think, God, they're old. Footballers, they're very grown up. And policemen, they're very grown up. I think I've just begun to think sort of 30-year-olds pretty old now. So I am growing up a bit, I suppose.
Yes, inside as well as outside.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Mental age of about 20.
When the inside gets to about 40, do you think that the sense of humour will change, that you'll start to do more deeply worthwhile things? Or
I'm 42, so I hope so.
Yeah, no, but on the inside, you're only
inside.
15 on the inside.
Oh, yes, right. I don't know, I suppose I hope you never stop laughing at things. I suppose the one thing is that as long as you feel there are things in the world that need changing, that's a good sort of drive to keep going and to keep doing things. I suppose if we were living in a kind of absolute utopia and everything was perfect, maybe it'd be more difficult to make jokes, really.
Yeah. You've been described as an armchair anarchist.
Yes,
I mean, you want to change things completely. Would you prefer to do without government?
I would. I mean, I would say if I had any political conviction, I would say I was an anarchist. But that is an anarchist... I mean, the word anarchist is much maligned because it's used by politicians to mean chaos and that. But in fact, it comes from the Greek anarchy, and it means anarchos, and it means without a head. And it's a very hopeful belief, actually. It believes that people are actually fundamentally good and are actually social animals. It's like that film, The Making of Mankind, that actually proved, archaeologically, it suddenly found out that mankind didn't succeed because they killed each other all the time. It succeeded because they were social creatures, the primitive man, and they got on together. And I think anarchy believes on order and government from below, that it comes from above. It isn't something that's imposed from above. And I think that's a sort of a way for the future, and I hope it comes about.
So you can go and do your own thing. One of your own things that you did was you brewed your own ale for a while.
Well, that's a sort of anarchist thing in a way, you see, because the whole
But
point...
do you like real ale? Because I think it's revolting.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well,
don't you prefer the keg?
Don't say that.
Sorry, don't you prefer the keg stuff?
No. You see, the keg stuff is kind of... it's a corpse that's been revived with sort of gas. Whereas real ale is this living thing. It has a life cycle of its own, and it goes through this cycle, and it has to be looked after and cared for. It's I mean, that's why it's always different. Sometimes it's bad, and sometimes it's good. But again, it's actually anarchy in practice, because you can't make real ale on a huge scale, because as soon as you do, you have to filter it, take all the yeast out of it, you have to